All right, Michaela, let's take a look at your paper. MLA format first. Everything looks okay here. With every struggle comes strength. I kind of like that. That'll work for me. What I would caution you, even though I think your introduction flows nicely, I'd really caution you again. You're not the only person that's done this about jumping right into the topic of high school. Um, really try to set it up, and it doesn't necessarily mean starting with this, because I think the quote it actually leads nicely into the quote, and what you do with it. That's fine, but maybe talk about maybe the other concept of treated, like maybe people complain about how what life does to them, or maybe the whole welfare mentality. I don't know. Uh, so, anyways, look maybe just a different way of looking at it. Just a couple punctuation errors. You don't need the comma there. Uh, and throughout my high school career, comma, the struggles I faced have helped me realize I can overcome anything life throws at me. I think this is a really good thesis statement. And you have your main points and everything else. So I think it works really well. Just maybe think of a different way of starting off that introduction. All right, so your freshman year, that's not the correct use of a dash there. I would probably use a colon to set up that as a definition, something like that. So anyways, so you go on and talk a little bit about your goals for the first year and how those goals worked. So your theme is about overcoming anything life throws at you, and you do talk about overcoming that first week of school. I mean, it's more, literally this whole thing is mostly about the first week of school, and not about your whole freshman year. But maybe you could tweak that a little bit in your topic sentence and make that a little bit stronger. Uh, Couple punctuation though, this isn't necessarily a wrong sentence, uh, but it's a really long sentence with a lot of stuff in it. I think you could probably break it apart and even be more specific with your word choice. So anyways, you go on that. From that point on, comma, I knew my freshman year would be basic cake. Uh, so again, a couple punctuation errors that you can fix. A lot of reflection though. Go back and look back at that freshman year. Think about how you tried to fit in. Think about what you did. Does it make sense now that you're a senior? Go back and try to reflect a little bit more on that. I'd love to have your transition be a little bit more specific, but at least you have one there. I would love, again, to hope that you have a better topic sentence. Um, this is this is your topic sentence essentially right here, uh, which I guess isn't too bad now that I think about it, but I still think it could be a little bit more specific overall. So you talk about your friends, which is fine. There are quite a few punctuation errors in here. Mikayla, I'll try to point them out as we get going. Uh, but you do talk about some specific stuff, and I think that's great. Uh, but things like over Christmas break, comma, Gretchen started dating an upperclassman. Uh, a couple more points I'll try to get here a little bit too. Whenever you have two here, try to separate it. I believe to her, comma, two, comma, since she's my best friend. So of course she became popular, comma, two. So do that. I like the idea of being replaced. And again, have some reflection. Look back at that. And eventually you say it worked out for the best because you met Jennifer and so on and so forth. But how has that persevered? Is it any, are you guys still friends? Stuff like that. From that point forward, comma, I knew we would become best friends. To this day, oh, sorry, you do. I'm sorry, I totally missed that, Mikayla. And you do talk about how you still are. Um, so, anyways, go back though, maybe do a little bit more reflection, maybe a little bit more, a little bit more specifics. Talk a little bit more about, I don't know, even imagery with your friends as far as what you'd like to do together. Once Gretchen's out of the picture, you started doing this with Jennifer. I don't know, something that would make it more original. And then maybe be more specific with the stressful year to follow, just to make that transition a little bit better. All right, so again, topic sentences we want to have a little bit better, as far as heartbreak and testing within 24 hours. I don't know, something like that. Surprisingly, comma, when you start with those adverbs like that, you want to put a comma in there. Actually, Mikayla, I think this is your best paragraph as far as details, as far as punctuation. There's very few punctuation errors in here. You do a really good job of going back to your quote. Always good in the end, comma though. So there's another punctuation error. But you do a really good job of going back to your quote. You do a really good job of talking about your um, concept of overcoming and perseverance, which I think is great. I like that you say, not many people could have done what I did. I think that's a really good reflection. So that's a really good paragraph. I don't really have a whole lot of nitpicking I want to do with that one. So you did a really good job with that. All right, so now you get to senior year, and this paragraph I kind of feel like maybe was tacked on a little bit because it's not as strong as your other paragraphs. You struggle with knowing things will be different when fall comes around, and I think that's an important struggle. I just think there needs to be more of that, and I think there needs to be a stronger sense of that, the difference. And you do talk about instead of equestrian, the dorm room, but you kind of repeat yourself a little bit with not wanting to leave your peers. Um, and then maybe just focus on that mental battle. I just think this paragraph can be a little bit stronger. It doesn't seem as strong as the other paragraphs with, your voice, with your word choice, that sort of thing. I think you really improve on that. For your conclusion, remember you're going to restate your thesis first. I don't think you really have anywhere in here restate your thesis. Then you summarize your main points with a sentence per body paragraph, which you haven't done yet either. And then you got to end on a really strong sentence, which your last sentence is this long. So it's a very meandering sentence that I do not feel is the best way to end your paragraph. So really need to work on this conclusion. You're missing a lot of elements of it. Your works cited is fine. I think you do a good job with that. Looks like you need to go over a space. It should be over here. So punctuation, better last paragraph, maybe a little bit more reflection, and look in that intro. But I think it's a pretty good paper, Michaela. I'm not sure how the rubric will turn out, but I think it's a pretty good paper, and I think it's a good start, and probably just a few tweaks and you really could have an excellent paper. So looking forward maybe to a rewrite.